I want you to know I'm at 68 on my battery, so I got a lot of time to go. I'm real good.
All right. Hey, we're live here on the Papa Dennis Show. Brad Krantz from the Brad and Britt Show and many other things, I guess, is here with us. We're live on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube right now. And Brad, I haven't talked to you in a long time. How you doing?
It's been a long time, and you know what? Both you and I look exactly the same as we did during the George W. Bush administration. Not a thing has changed. 15 years, boom, nothing. Perfect.
That's right. Listen, Brad, Louis DeJoy, you went over to his house in Irving Park today, and nobody else was there.
You and I, we were in radio for a long time. All right.
Yeah.
What was the worst continuing thing that you ever were involved with? I'll answer the question. The answer is the radio remote Saturday at the car dealer, where they would set up this stupid little tent, right? You'd have a table in front of you, some tchotchkes, you'd have pencils, and you'd have key rings. And there'd be a
can coolers, though,
right, like the can huggers, and the only people that would show up for the most part would be these, your hardcore mouth breathing fans, right?
Yeah.
Now, what happens if it rains on that Saturday? Then you get down to the hardest core of the hardest core, right?
Yeah.
This was less than that because I am a lousy organizer. Right, I was the guy that would show up at the promotion. I wasn't the guy that could organize it. So because I thought, maybe last night at 11 o'clock, let's have a thing out in front of Louis DeJoy's house, it kind of bombed out. But that's the bad news, if there is bad news. The good news is people way smarter than me, way better than me, have it ready to rock tomorrow, Sunday, at 2 o'clock right there. Yeah, and I can already tell. They've got the official logo and the flyer look that you would drop on somebody's on their front porch, and it'll go around. And I think tomorrow will be a much better day. And you've probably already seen the news from Saturday. Apparently, they rocked his ass up in New York or in Washington today at his house. Yeah. I mean, it is the top story right now on the Daily Mail. All right, and the Daily Mail, think of it what you want, they know box office, all right?
Yeah.
And so there it is. And I mean, it might even be top of the page on Drudge, but I have no idea. But clearly, this has hit a chord with Americans that nothing else has in a long, long time. And Dennis, how many times in the last almost 4 years have we said, this will be the thing, this is the one, and then it never is, right? He gets by. Yeah. You know what? The mail comes every day. People need their medicine every day. They depend on the mail, and I don't care whether the internet has changed the actual number of first class letters that get sent. That's not relevant to this. Hey, Benjamin Franklin was the first Postmaster General. So all these years later, we've got Louis DeJoy, this rich guy who looks exactly like Mr. Moneybags from the Monopoly game, doesn't he? He's that guy. He is that guy.
What do you know about Louis DeJoy? I mean, he's from Greensboro. Why is he in Greensboro? Does he have some business interest here? What is he involved in?
Well, I believe he's a native New Yorker, and when he was in his late 20s, early 30s, he had a company that figured out early on that logistics was what it was all about. Many years before you'd see those commercials, the UPS commercials, it's about logistics, moving things from one place to another. And he built himself apparently a very, very large, successful company. And I don't know how many years ago, he sold it to XPS Logistics for about $600 million. Which is enough to cover the delivery charge if you get Grubhub and things like that. He was well heeled.
Yeah.
I don't know what his involvement with the company after that was, and I don't know when exactly he made the decision to move to Greensboro. I think it was in the early 2000s, because he bought in 2005 the house, the biggest house at the time, the most expensive house at the time, it might still be, in Greensboro for $5.9 million. It was on the market for 6.6. So the man is he's a real estate genius. But it's this gigantic house that's set off the street of Country Club Drive, which is, believe it or not, across the street from a country club, Greensboro Country Club.
Yeah.
And it's the house. It's that house, and he's that guy. And of course, his wife is Aldona Voss, who was the health commissioner, I believe, of North Carolina. She's made a ton of money. She's been appointed ambassador a couple of times around the world. So they are Greensboro's most below the radar power couple. Although I think Trump has been to that house a couple of times, and there have been protests a couple of times over the last 4 years when he's shown up for fundraisers at that house. So in Trump world, he's golden. He raised money. He contributed himself to Trump's campaign. So he was right in line. And when Trump was looking for a hatchet man to come in and hack away at the post office, whose financial difficulties are well known, they didn't just start this year or when Trump took office. And that's a whole other discussion if you want to have it. But he found the guy. He found the guy, except it doesn't matter that he found the guy, because you are messing not just with Mom, Apple Pie, and Chevrolet. You're messing with the post office, which I believe rates out at about 91% approval. And I don't know if this happened to you in the last few days. I don't know if you see your postman deliver the mail, but I happened to be outside today at about 11:30 or so, and the guy's coming by in the truck, and I walked to the truck where he's reaching, and I said, "Hold the phone. I got to tell you something. I love you. You guys are the greatest. Don't think for 1 second we don't support you. And we're going to be organizing a little visit to Mr. DeJoy's house today or tomorrow." And this big smile went across his face, and he said, "Thank you very much." Everybody knows what's going on here. It's out in the open. It is just out in the open that they're trying to mess with the mail. And you know what? This is like so many things, Dennis, that Trump tries to do. Thinks like a dictator or a mob boss. He can tell you to your face, "I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it. I dare you to stop me." And he's lived his whole life. I don't know whether you read the Mary Trump book, but oh my God, she already needs to write 4 more chapters, and that book's only been out for a month, right? Because of the bold BS that he throws in our face. So
I know.
I think he really went a bridge too far on this one, and the backfire effect, I think, is this. The awareness level now of what's going on with the post office, I think if you polled that today, it would poll at 85%. People know this is happening. And as a result, even though we're going to be urging it and talking about it and social mediaing it for the next couple of months, people really are going to get their mail-in ballots in really, really early. Where we are, where you and I are, Dennis, North Carolina, the ballots actually will go out September 4th to people that have filled out the forms already, and it's really easy.
I've done that. My whole family's done that.
Right. Okay. So they're going to start sending them out September 4th. So when we get them when we get them soon after that, normally in a normal year, you might just put it on the pile and say, "Well, I'll wait until the end of October and then send it in." But I think this time around, everyone's going to be aware that the goal is send them in as fast as possible. I I think this is a seminal moment of backfiring on Donald Trump. I mean, he has. Think of the veterans. Think of people who get their
Yeah.
prescriptions in the mail. In fact, I'm sure you know this. During the height of the pandemic, earlier on in March and April, I don't know what drugstore you use, but CVS said, "Hey, you don't even have to come here. We'll send it to you for free." And they did that for about 3 months. You have to pay, you'd have to pay the little fee now. But that's how important the mail is to the health of the United States.
Yeah,
and,
that's
and,
right.
And Donald Trump thinks that he can get away with confusing and scaring people by saying, "Oh, well, absentee balloting is okay, but that universal voting, no, that's not good. You can't have that. There's too much fraud with that." He is intentionally trying to let people know that he is positive, and you should know that absentee voting and mail-in voting are two different things. No. When you vote by
No, they're not.
absentee ballot, you're voting by mail. All right?
That's right.
And
That's right.
And universal balloting is what goes on in about 5 states. I think it's California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado.
Yeah, Utah.
Utah. Those are the 5 states where they send a ballot. They actually do send a ballot to every registered voter, and those registered voters don't have to ask for it. And of course, what's going on there? No fraud.
That's right.
It works perfectly. The other 45 states have varying degrees of. They don't send a ballot to everybody who's a registered voter, but you have to ask for it. And Trump is trying to make everyone think that this is a problem and scare people. And well, maybe I shouldn't send it. Maybe I should just go vote on election day. Maybe that's really the best way to do it. And he gives away the store. His thinking is so transparently idiotic when he says, well, in the old days, let's do it like that. Right. Like in 1954, when there wasn't early voting and most people did their voting on election day. Boy, that was a great time, wasn't it? That was when we could give black people literacy tests. That's when we could really suppress the vote really well. And he's so obvious about it. And I think people see it. I think that's where you're seeing it reflected in his bad polling. Everybody's on to him. Not everybody. Okay, we know there's the 30% or whatever that they're willing to die with him. But
I think it's also it's going to backfire as far as the voting goes with a lot of Republicans, because I have talked to some Republicans say, "Oh no, I'm not going to vote by mail. It's not you're not supposed to do that. It's president says can't do that." And Republicans have voted absentee in larger numbers than Democrats for many years, and it's going to hurt in some states if those Republicans listen to Donald Trump on this.
I think, though, that might be history that doesn't mean anything, because if you've seen the latest polling, it looks like right now, because Democrats are the ones who believe that the coronavirus is not a hoax. More Democrats are saying this time around that they're liable to vote by mail. But the original point you made does count, because Republicans are much more liable to believe the BS and to believe that voting by mail, if they were doing it in the past, is a bad idea this time. Why? Well, because their God is telling them so. And Donald Trump wouldn't be allowed to say it if it wasn't true, right?
That's right.
He only speaks the truth. So I think this was the bridge too far. And I don't know how you
this one's going to have legs.
Yeah. Here's another thing. I've talked about this on our podcast, bradandbritt.com, for our podcast. It's world famous. I said this about 3 times during the week. Let's run the numbers here. Let's try to figure this out. Let's say 120 million mail-in ballots are filled out in the United States, and they're spread out among the 50 states. Or as Republicans like to say, Barack Obama said there's 57 states. Doesn't that crap get funnier every time you hear it?
Yeah. I mean, how many years has that been, you know?
It never stops. Hey, here's a good one, Dennis. Remember this? Marine Corps. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was a good one.
But now we've got Yosemite Valley.
Yeah, Yosemite Valley. Yeah, and let me finish the point here. So there's 120 million ballots spread out among the 50 states and spread out over 6 to 8 weeks in the mail system. On a daily basis, the post office does about 400 million pieces of mail. So on what planet is 120 million pieces of mail difficult to get delivered on time all over the country, spread out time-wise, when they're doing that kind of volume every day? Or somebody put up a great meme. Oh, they can't deliver 120 million pieces of mail, a week before the election, but somehow they're able to get 2 billion Christmas cards delivered before Christmas. What is that all about?
Okay. Yeah, they put out that letter to 46 states at least that I know of. Maybe it's gone to all 50. I don't know, but I think that letter was meant to intimidate the voters and states into thinking, hey, we'd better not vote by mail.
Well, and if you've seen all the postmasters from the various states, I saw the postmaster retired of North Carolina. He's only been out of the job for 2 or 3 years, and he said, "This is a load of garbage. We're going to be able to get this done as long as there is an explicit physical interruption." And we've seen it in the last few days. I mean, you saw the story, I'm sure, on Friday night, Break Big, that physical interruption in picking up and getting rid of the blue mailboxes that are all over the country. They're going around with a forklift and yanking them out of the concrete. It's that. So that got reversed in about 2 seconds. They're trying. And what does that tell us? It tells us there's a level of desperation that we've never seen. But on the other hand, you've got Louis DeJoy, a master of logistics. He's going to figure out how to launch 10,000 blue mailboxes into space and have them delivered to Mars by next Thursday. The man is a genius. He's not getting the credit he deserves. What a dork.
All right. So tomorrow again, 2:00 at Louis DeJoy's Irving Park House. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a gathering. Is that correct?
Yeah. Have you seen the flyer? I can send you the flyer.
Do that.
I'll send you that, and this has the potential to make a little bit more noise than my strikeout today, and that's okay. I mean, today the big story is what they did up in Washington. Let them have it. Let them have it. But I think in Greensboro, what we can do if this just goes big enough, that it will demonstrate that the Donald Trump finally found the Mr. Moneybags plutocrat to come.
All he needs is a monocle.
and the tuxedo. The tuxedo. Yes. That'll point out that he's found yet another person who really isn't fit to be doing the job. Or how many people has Trump appointed during his administration whose goal is to dismantle the very agency for which they're running? That creep at the EPA, right?
Betsy DeVos.
Yeah, this Betsy DeVos at the Education Department. The list goes on, and here's DeJoy, who has some conflict of interest issues. Elizabeth Warren hammered him a couple of days ago because apparently he's been buying call options or selling them. I'm not sure how options work. Whatever he was doing, he was making a bet on Amazon stock based on what he thought the stock might do, probably based on information he had that was going to start to alter the way the Postal Service was going to be able to deliver things. And you know that Trump has this hard on for Jeff Bezos because Bezos also owns the Washington Post, even though he doesn't edit it. See, this is what Trump's problem is. He thinks that someone like Bezos is running a large, major metropolitan newspaper the way he would run it if he owned it. If Trump owned a paper like that, and the closest thing to that is, say, the New York Post, because Rupert Murdoch, his buddy, runs it. But even Murdoch is way more hands-off on the day-to-day operation of the paper than Trump ever would be, right? And he thinks Bezos is in the newsroom of the Washington Post putting up all those mean articles about him every day, doesn't he? You just know he thinks that. And so he's been after him for all this time. The Postal Service is a service. It's not a business.
Not a business. It's not a business.
And if someone can explain to me how, when in the United States Constitution they mentioned a postal service shall be established, and every address in every city on every is passed by every day by the U.S. Postal Service, when Amazon and UPS get to cherry pick where they deliver their stuff and make lots of money off of each delivery. How you're going to do that if you try to privatize the Postal Service? Because apparently they've done it in some other countries. It hasn't worked out all that well. And at least to me, and guys like us, I still think it's sort of a miracle that even at 55 cents for a first-class stamp, that I can throw it in the mailbox and it gets to
go anywhere,
and it's there in a couple of days. I still think that's a miraculous process, even if they have their issues. My line on that is: have you ever not gotten a bill in the mail?
No.
They always get there. They always get
That's
there.
right.
So I hope this gets reversed, and I hope that this just backfires on Trump so badly that when the history is written, let us hope that this is just another one of those milestone days, and another thing that he thought he could get away with, and he just can't. We can't let him do it. Can't let him do it.
No. Brad, it's been great talking to you again. I've enjoyed this. We need to do this again, and I hope you will. Because there's always stuff coming up I'd love to talk to you about.
And anytime. And you're
all right.
You look great. You sound great, and I'd look forward to doing it anytime you want. Okay.
All right. And your show, of course, Brad and Britt. Tell me all the stuff you're involved in. You mentioned the podcast. What else you got?
That's about it. I walk the dog every day. I try to not coronavirus. Right. Because, and you know this better than anybody, there is not much of a place for people like you and me in commercial radio. There just isn't.
No.
And in fact, there's not much of a place for anybody in commercial radio. They're
right.
They're downsizing these radio. There's going to be nothing left because, frankly, what we're doing right now has supplanted radio. And the pandemic, if radio was on its last legs before, this could kill it, because how could there be drive time radio if nobody's driving because nobody has a job?
That's right. And I mean, the working from home thing is going to be continuing to take off even after I think the pandemic is over with. And that's going to really cut down on the number of people that are commuting and, listening to the radio in their cars.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to be in the business of renting office space to people because no matter who you are, and our daughter works in Chicago. There are about 700 people that that work with her at LinkedIn, all right, which is owned by Microsoft. Now, you could not think of a more solid company in the world than Microsoft financially, right? That doesn't get any better than that. But even LinkedIn, about 3 weeks ago, laid off a few people. Not a lot, but just a couple on the margins. Our daughter, fortunately, was not one of those. But she's been working from home, and she's going to be working from home. They've told everybody, we're done for the year. You're at home for the rest of the year. And so companies like that, when things do turn back around or turn in the right direction, they're not going to need as much office space. And those are the winners.
Yeah, that's
those are
right.
The winners. The losers, they're gone.
Yeah.
And so, everything is changing. So radio is a vast wasteland.
Doing this is so much more immediate. I mean, we can do it in an instant, and it's just amazing what you can do now.
Right.
So.
And you're beholden to no one. You're beholden to
I know.
Except your own self and what people think of you. And there's not some guy who's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, "In my office at 10."
Yeah.
in my
That's
office.
Right.
And they never bring you into the office at 10 to tell you got a raise and you get an extra per week.
That's right. Brad, thanks a lot. Great talking with you. And let's do it again. Say hey to Britt. Maybe next time we can get Britt on with us to talk with us also here.
Now, can you do a 3-way?
Oh, I can have up to 10 people on. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So.
Because, we don't do the podcast together anymore. I do it from my place. He does it from his. So if we can set it up 3-way, we're in with you.
Yeah, sure can. Sure can.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Brad.
Take care.
Nice talking with you again. All right.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I want to appreciate again Brad Krantz for talking with us here on the Papa Dennis Show. Thank you very much for being here and doing this in the midst of a power outage. I've got lanterns set up. I'm using my battery from my leaf blower to power the laptop and the phone, using the phone internet hotspot. So thanks a lot to Brad Krantz, and thank you for joining us today again here on the Papa Dennis Show.